Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to the United Church of Christ in Keene. As we like to say, no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. I'm so excited through this video to introduce you to just a few of the members of our church and how they feel about being a part of this UCC community. We all have been through a very challenging time with COVID, a time of reflection, a time of clarification, a time of prioritization. But it has been amazing to hear and to experience what this church means to so many people. So I invite you into a conversation with our community.
Greetings everyone, my name is Gloria Hayes, and I became a member here at UCC Keene about 3 years ago. I moved here from Connecticut following a series of unhappy events, but I'm so thrilled to be here. First thing I'd like to say about the church is that it's very welcoming. I showed up at the front door with my handicapped granddaughter and was greeted by one of the deacons who showed me how to get to an elevator because I needed that, and showed me where to sit, gave me a bulletin, and greeted me. And then that same deacon sat behind me during church to make sure that I knew how to follow worship and if there was anything else I needed. So that was my very first Sunday, and it felt really good.
My name is Carl Allen, and I'm coming to you from one of my favorite places in the church. This is the choir loft where the choir sings to you every Sunday. What attracts me to this church is that I feel it has brought me closer to God and given me a much better understanding of the three parts of God: Creator, Christ, and Holy Spirit. My faith has become stronger because I feel comfortable in a community which supports everyone's individual faith journey.
The music here is beautiful. It's wonderful, both during worship and the special programs that are held in the church. One of the first things I liked about this church when we came to worship was the whole service was sort of the history of hymns, starting way back, and different people in the church took on the roles of the person that wrote those hymns, and then we sang the hymns. I learned a lot, but it was just a really neat worship. It was a lot of fun to witness.
I belong to this church because of the committed people here who are willing to put their valuable time and treasure and amazing talents together to get so many good things done for our church, our community, and our larger community.
Hi, my name is Jim Vanderhoeven, and my wife Jenny and our three kids, Jude, Jonah, and Josephine, have been members here for almost 6 years. We have really enjoyed being involved in the church community. I have for several years now really enjoyed the opportunity to do the radio ministry on Sunday mornings. I know especially during the pandemic that this has been a really important ministry to be able to broadcast the Sunday morning community, church service for folks who have been unable to make it, in person during the pandemic. And then also, prior to the pandemic in the winter time, if the roads are bad, I always know that there's a nice audience listening. And I've really enjoyed it. I've loved doing theater production in my past lives, and it gives me an opportunity to do something that I really enjoy.
To be perfectly honest, I can't imagine my life without my church family here at the United Church of Christ in Keene. Back in 1996, when I first landed in Keene, there was an extended search to find a church home, and it included attending services at many of the area's churches. But when I walked through the doors of the United Church of Christ for the first time, I immediately felt at home, and I've felt that way ever since.
This church is one of my families. I have my biological family, I have my family of origin, I have my family that is my wife and my children and her children, and I had my work family until I retired, and now I have my church family.
We've been here a long time, and we've grown more spiritual, I think, as time has gone by, hasn't it?
Yes.
We've had such good relationship with this church community.
I was going to say, the church has meant a lot to us.
Yes, we're always here if we can be.
I'm a longtime church member. My whole life, I actually been in church since I was in utero, and church has always been a very important part of my life. I think what seals what I feel about the church is reading the first annual report. I know that probably a lot of people don't read annual reports, but I do, and to catch the scope of what the church does, that's where it is the meat. The reach out in the local area, the reach out way beyond the borders of this world to try to bring the love and work of Jesus Christ to life in the life of many people. The music program is also very important to me, as it enhances my worship, and I think it enhances the worship of so many people, because the words and the music speak not just to your intellect, but into your soul, into the inner parts of you. And so that makes the worship experience so much richer.
I love this church because we strive and stretch to be more like Jesus. Our racial injustice working groups, our opening and affirming group, our sacred circles, our women's fellowship, our book clubs, our Stephen ministry team, and our Sunday school teachers, our hospitality group, our deacons, our council, our circle of caring, our mission and music. We are so lucky to have all these.
The things that I've done here that are very, very important to me are that I've been a Stephen minister, and a Stephen minister is someone who helps people who are going through a difficult time in their life by being there to listen on a regular basis and just supporting their spiritual challenges and also just listening and letting them know that there's someone there to care, and there's no judgment and not as a therapist, but as a friend who would walk with you in a time that was difficult.
One thing I believe most sincerely is that God is love, and that's pretty much all there is to it. But you can derive a lot of things from that. First of all, God's understanding of love is loving His people. And one thing that this church does is love its people. It's a welcoming church. That means it loves its people.
I like the way the church has different avenues for different age groups so that people can get to know each other. When you're a stranger and you come into a big church, it's not easy sometimes to become part of the church. But in this church, there is so many opportunities to meet and greet with people of your age or all ages, to become familiar with them and develop friendships.
I appreciate this church and my church family for so many reasons, but above all for how willing this congregation is to fulfill the teachings of Jesus, to help those in need, and to welcome in the marginalized. Whoever is preaching on a Sunday morning, you're going to hear these words. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. I love hearing that weekly reminder because it's not always easy to live it out, but I see the people of this congregation doing their best to make it a reality.
Being part of a Bible study and book discussion group has helped me grow in my faith and really mature as a Christian, and meet people in a small group setting that really helps you feel like you're getting to know other people in the congregation.
For the socialization part, I guess we've become deacons, and so that's another subgroup of the congregation that's been a lot of fun. We need more deacons. But we've gotten to know the pastor well through that. Oh, and we have to sing her praises also.
Yes, the pastor's very nice.
She's brilliant, and I realized when we first started coming and the pandemic was going on and life was pretty bleak, that I enjoyed coming to worship because it was like hope restoration time. You could be quiet and listen to an inspirational sermon that made you think more later, but it was a nice break from the day-to-day of being cooped up inside.
Pastor Cindy has brought love into this church, and I feel it all around me. When I went through an extraordinarily successful battle with cancer and the death of my parents, I was so strongly supported by my choir family, my bell family, and my council family, as well as our pastors and our amazing staff.
The church is an important force for good in this community, I think.
It is.
Not only for us, but for the community itself and for everyone else that belongs to the church.
Right. Yes, we've had a wonderful community and leaders that have been very helpful.
We've been members mostly because we know that the UCC Keene does a lot of good in the Keene community. Particularly, we're really supportive of the 100 Nights outreach that the church does, and really being a resource for folks in times of need is something that we really appreciate.
The community outreach part of this church, they support many functions like the community kitchen, the 100 Nights, the MAP Center next door.
The other thing that's been very important to me has been activism, actually. This church encourages social justice work and also what we call creation justice work.
This church has a great interest in environmental development and research and saving our planet. And that started with the study group and now has reached into a very active committee with very specific goals, and they're working very hard to make that happen.
I've been the chair of the Mission, Outreach, and Social Action Committee for what feels like forever. Every single time I make an announcement on a Sunday morning about something in our community that needs our attention or our financial support, I can count on this congregation stepping up and getting it done. The amazing generosity of this church family never ceases to amaze me.
We are blessed to have inspiring sermons done by a wonderful woman and have a staff that supports us, including finance and safety and property and PPRC and personnel and stewardship.
I'm part of what they call the card ministry, and I became acquainted with that when I had a need of one of my family members, and the card ministry, a whole bunch of people send cards that I'm thinking of you and I'm praying for you. And so I joined that ministry because I knew how it felt when you're not doing your best in the world to have other people write and tell you that they're thinking of you, that they're praying for you. It's a very, very important thing to me.
I experienced just the love that emanates from this congregation and through our pastor and church administrator in this last year when I lost my son at 38 with pancreatic cancer. And I got about, I don't know, 70 cards from members of the congregation. I had tremendous support from our pastor and other members of the church in terms of my creating a service and celebrating my son's life. And I don't know how people get through those times without having both a faith in God and a faith community to support them through those times.
I do believe that faith is a journey, and on the journey you have to hold hands. You need other people. I believe it's much harder to be a good person and to be a Christian without the support of other people. And this church is the other people you need.
We hope to continue here for many years, right?
Yeah, it's really been a big part of our life. We've hardly missed church unless we were away or ill.
Right.
So that was something that was just part of our life. And we gained so much through that, through our church relationships, and just the spirituality that our leaders have helped us along with.
It's important to be part of a worshiping community. And in this church, which is a large church, there are all kinds of opportunities to do that. But all of that hinges on the fact that this can't be done without the gifts that we give to the church. And the ministries and all the various things the church does, it depends on what we can donate to the church in honor of our Lord and Jesus Christ, and also to keep the house burning. You know, it's 9 degrees below zero today, and we're heating a huge building. So if you'll think about what the value of the church is to you, as I think about what the value is to me, you'll find that it's a big treasure in your life, and I encourage you to contribute to the church.
And the first time that we came to church here, when we heard the words, no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here, that really solidified it for us. We knew that this was a community that we could be comfortable in, and to know that we would be in an environment that was supportive for our children and for our time living here in Keene.
The music, the preaching, the fellowship, the mission work, the historic building, everything about this church impresses me and raises my spirits. This church family has been here for me during a tough time in my life, always reaching out, always supporting me, always loving me. It makes me wonder how anyone gets through life without a supportive church family or without faith. I know for me, I can say without a doubt, my life would have infinitely less meaning if I didn't have this church family at the United Church of Christ in Keene.
Thank you all for taking the time to meet our members and hear how they feel about the United Church of Christ in Keene. After 20 years of ministry, I can attest this is a very special church. As we say in our mission statement, a place where every day, in every way, we embody the words, love lives here. We all know that life after COVID, life after this experience will never be the same, but there are some institutions and communities in our life that endure. And so we're excited to move into a new phase in our church life together, and we want you to consider being a part of that community. Thank you, and God bless.